Alien commander slapped a Deathworlder S5 second. S later, the galaxy saw his severed head HFY. Towering beings passed by on every side, their shapes strange and unfamiliar. Some had scales, others had extra limbs, and a few floated without any visible support. Ethan kept his eyes forward and his expression calm. He was just another human in the crowd, one of the so-called Deathworlders, newly recognized by the galactic community. Humans had not been part of galactic politics for long. Most species assumed they were weak, fragile, and not worth serious attention. Ethan had heard those assumptions countless times. His job, officially, was to escort the human delegation and ensure they were safe. Unofficially, he was there to observe, gather intelligence, and make sure no one underestimated his species too much. The station was massive, a floating hub that rotated slowly to simulate gravity. Banners from dozens of alien empires hung from the walls, each displaying symbols Ethan could not read. Hovering drones carried supplies between the different docking bays, while merchants called out in languages he barely recognized. The noise, the lights, and the smell of alien food made Ethan feel alert, but not anxious. He had trained for situations like this all his life. He reached the central plaza, where the diplomatic meeting was to take place. A crowd of aliens had already gathered, their eyes following every movement. At the center, a tall, broad alien with dark green skin and ridged horns stood surrounded by his aides. This was Zelvar, a high-ranking commander known across several systems for his brutality and arrogance. Ethan had studied his movements, his tactics, and his reputation. He knew Zelvar thought of humans as toys, untested and weak. "Look at them," a nearby alien muttered, pointing at the human delegation. "Tiny, fragile, they cannot even survive one desert day on their planet without dying." Ethan did not respond. He simply watched, noting the tone, the gestures, the whispers. The humans accompanying him shuffled nervously. Most of them had never been on a station like this before. The whispers of fear and excitement ran through the crowd, and Ethan's calm presence acted like an anchor. He was aware of every camera, every drone, every eye. Nothing would surprise him. Zelvar's voice boomed across the plaza. It was sharp, commanding, and filled with confidence. "Deathworlders," he said, "you have come far from your pitiful rock, yet I wonder why. Are you seeking knowledge or merely hoping to survive in my presence?" A few aliens laughed, their sounds harsh and grating to Ethan's ears. The humans shifted uncomfortably, unsure if they should bow, step forward, or remain silent. Ethan kept his hand near the collar of his uniform, where a small device rested. It was a communication and security tool, not noticeable to outsiders, but it linked him to others who were ready to act if needed. Zelvar stepped closer to the humans, his eyes narrowing. He circled the delegation slowly, like a predator studying its prey. Ethan kept his own gaze steady. He did not flinch, he did not bow, and he did not speak. He wanted the aliens to see the calm of a human, the kind that did not panic, even when provoked. "So quiet," Zelvar said, his voice dripping with amusement. "Is this how your species faces insult? Do you tremble and beg, or do you strike first?" Ethan's fingers brushed the device on his collar, but he did not activate it. He waited, breathing evenly, his mind calculating possibilities, timing, and consequences. Then, without warning, Zelvar slapped Ethan across the face. The force was more than expected, enough to sting, enough to humiliate. The crowd gasped. Many assumed the human would cry out, bow, or retaliate. Ethan's head jerked from the blow, but he caught himself immediately, eyes steady on the alien commander. His cheek burned, but his expression remained neutral. A tense silence fell across the plaza. The cameras recorded everything. The audience froze, unsure how to react. Some aliens whispered among themselves, amazed at the human's restraint. Zelvar's own aides stepped back, shocked that their commander's attack had met no immediate response. Ethan lifted a hand slowly, brushing imaginary dust from his uniform. He spoke in a calm, even tone, "I am still here." The words were simple, but the meaning was clear. They were not a challenge nor a threat, but a quiet statement. He would not be broken, and he would not flinch. The alien commander's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. He had expected fear, shock, or anger. He got none of those things. "Interesting," Zelvar said finally, his voice lower, almost thoughtful. "So, Deathworlders endure, yet you cannot hide your weakness. The sting of pain tells me all I need to know." Ethan's eyes flicked briefly to the surrounding cameras. Each one streamed the scene across countless star systems. He imagined millions of eyes watching, all assuming they would see a human crumble. Instead, they saw calm, precision, and control. In that moment, Ethan understood the weight of perception. The galaxy thought of humans as fragile, but a single action could change that forever. He exhaled slowly. The small device at his collar blinked once, a subtle signal. Hidden human operatives stationed in nearby areas received the signal instantly. They remained invisible to the alien crowd, their positions disguised among merchants, drones, and diplomats. Ethan did not move aggressively, but his body adjusted, ready for any command. He was a human in appearance, but beneath that exterior, he was trained for situations where seconds decided life or death. Zelvar's voice cut through the tense air again. "Do you understand the customs here? The consequences of disrespecting a commander?" Ethan's lips moved slightly, speaking softly, yet his voice carried clearly. "I understand better than you think." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Zelvar raised one clawed hand, pointing at Ethan. "Then perhaps you will show me respect before I decide your fate." Ethan did not flinch. His eyes did not leave the alien commander. In his mind, he calculated the distance, the timing, and the reactions of everyone in the plaza. 5 seconds could be eternity, and he was ready for them. As Zelvar continued his speech, boasting about his victories and his authority, Ethan noticed small things. The tension in the guards' stances, the flicker of cameras, the whispers of the crowd. He absorbed every detail, knowing that any misstep could be catastrophic. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and underestimated. That was exactly how Ethan liked it. Then, just as Zelvar turned to signal his aides, Ethan's mind shifted into action mode. He did not move his body yet, but every muscle was aware, every thought focused. The 5 seconds after the slap were critical. One wrong move, and the situation could explode into open conflict. One correct move, and the perception of humans in the galaxy would change forever. He felt a quiet surge of energy, the calm before the storm. The station seemed to hold its breath. Aliens stopped talking, merchants paused their shouts, and the hum of machinery faded into the background. Ethan's gaze locked on Zelvar. There was no hatred, no fear, only clarity. The alien commander had made a mistake. He had underestimated the human before him. Levar, oblivious to Ethan's preparation, continued to speak, unaware that every second he spent underestimating this human was a second closer to witnessing something the galaxy would never forget. Ethan's fingers touched the device on his collar once more. The hidden operatives acknowledged the silent signal, positioning themselves subtly. The crowd could not see the humans blending into the background, unseen but ready. The slap, intended as humiliation, became a spark. The tension in the plaza thickened. Every eye was on Ethan, expecting a reaction that would satisfy the alien desire for dominance. Instead, they saw patience, discipline, and quiet strength. The moment stretched, the seconds ticking in slow motion for those paying attention. In that small window, Ethan understood something fundamental. Humans were different from every other species present. They did not boast loudly, they did not flaunt their power, but they were precise, relentless, and unyielding when pushed. 5 seconds might not seem like enough to anyone else, but for him, it was the perfect opportunity. As Ethan stood, Waiting, observing, and breathing evenly, the galaxy unknowingly held its attention. They thought they were watching a weak species, a Deathworlder accepting an insult. They did not realize they were on the edge of seeing a new reality, one where humans were not to be underestimated, one where calm could turn to lightning faster than anyone imagined. And for Ethan Cole, the slap was nothing more than a reminder. The galaxy had judged humans too soon, and he would make them regret it in a way they would never forget. The 5 seconds after the slap felt longer than any minute Ethan Cole had ever experienced. The plaza remained frozen, every alien watching, waiting for the human to react. Some expected fear, others expected anger, all expected weakness. Ethan's eyes never left Zelvar, his breathing slow and steady, his body perfectly balanced. Nothing about him suggested panic or chaos. He felt the hum of the station beneath his boots and the faint vibrations from the nearby machinery. Every detail mattered. The distance between him and Zelvar was small, but in these moments, even a meter could decide life or death. Ethan's training had taught him to see patterns, to anticipate movement, and to remain calm under pressure. He had faced creatures larger, faster, and more dangerous than this commander before, but none had dared to strike him publicly like this. Zelvar's grin had returned, but it was not the confident smirk he had worn before. There was tension in the way his fingers twitched, in the slight flare of his nostrils, in the sharpness of his gaze. He had assumed the human would react in one predictable way, and Ethan's lack of response was disorienting. "Do you understand what I am?" Zelvar asked, his voice loud enough to echo across the plaza. "I am a commander, a conqueror. I have fought battles your species cannot even imagine, and yet you stand there unmoved. Why?" Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly, but he did not speak. Instead, he adjusted his stance imperceptibly, distributing his weight evenly. His hand hovered near the collar device, a subtle signal to the operatives scattered around the station. They remained hidden, blending into the crowds of aliens and merchants. Each had trained for this exact moment, prepared to act in synchronization with Ethan if needed. The plaza was quiet except for Zelvar's voice and the occasional hum of drones passing overhead. The crowd had stopped moving, the whispers dying in their throats. No one dared interrupt. The galaxy was watching, and Ethan knew that every second counted. 5 seconds might seem short, but in those 5 seconds the story of humanity could change forever. Zelvar took a step closer, his claws tapping against the polished floor. "Do you dare show me disrespect? Do you dare look me in the eyes as I strike you?" Ethan's lips moved, his voice low but firm. "I am still here." The words echoed slightly, simple but filled with quiet strength. The alien commander's smirk faltered again. The humans around Ethan shifted nervously, sensing the weight of the moment. The crowd of aliens leaned forward slightly, curious, confused, unsure of what would happen next. Ethan did not move aggressively, but he did not retreat. He remained calm, collected, aware of every detail around him. He saw the subtle shifts in Zelvar's guards. One moved a hand toward his weapon, another stepped slightly to the side. All expected Ethan to panic or react foolishly. Instead, he remained still, a human who did not flinch, who did not betray fear. The alien's arrogance had blinded him to the possibilities that existed beyond simple expectation. Zelvar raised one clawed hand, signaling his aides to step back. "You think yourself clever, Deathworlder. You think your silence hides power." Ethan's eyes scanned the plaza. Cameras floated above, transmitting live images to every corner of the galaxy. Millions of eyes were watching. No one expected a human to be ready, but Ethan had spent years preparing for moments like this. His hand tightened slightly near his collar device. He did not need to touch it yet. The timing had to be perfect. Premature action could ruin everything. The first second passed. Zelvar continued to boast, his voice loud, his words dripping with confidence. "You are fragile, weak, a speck in the universe. And yet you stare at me without fear, amusing but foolish. The second passed. Ethan's posture shifted subtly. Not enough for any alien to notice, but enough for the operatives hidden in the crowd to understand that he was ready. Each of them adjusted their stance slightly, blending into the environment, waiting for the signal that would tell them to act. The third second passed. Ethan's mind calculated distances, angles, and reactions. He imagined every possible move Zelvar could make, every guard that might intervene. In his imagination, the plaza was empty, the only movement being his own. He had trained for this scenario for years, and now it was unfolding perfectly. The fourth second passed. Zelvar's confidence began to falter slightly. He had expected fear or rage. He had expected the human to react impulsively. Instead, he saw calm, control, and patience. The crowd sensed the shift too. Murmurs began, subtle at first, then spreading. Aliens looked at each other, unsure what to do. They could see that the human before them was unlike any they had met. The fifth second approached. Ethan's hand finally touched the collar device lightly, sending a signal to the operatives. They remained unseen, silent, but ready. The galaxy was unaware that the moment about to come would be recorded and remembered forever. Ethan's eyes never left Zelvar, steady, unshaken, precise. The crowd leaned forward slightly, curiosity overcoming caution. Zelvar took another step toward Ethan, raising a clawed hand as if to strike again. He underestimated the human's patience, the human's preparation, the human's understanding of timing. Ethan's body moved as one with years of training. He did not lunge recklessly. He did not shout. He moved with controlled precision. In that instant, the hidden operatives took positions, blocking potential threats and ensuring no one interfered. The cameras above continued to record, streaming the moment live across star systems. No one realized they were about to witness history. Zelvar's eyes widened slightly, sensing something different. His arrogance faltered for a fraction of a second. Ethan's expression remained calm, neutral, but beneath that calm was readiness, awareness, and deadly intent. The difference between the two beings was clear. One underestimated the moment, the other had mastered it. Time seemed to stretch. The crowd barely breathed. Aliens whispered in confusion, trying to understand why the human did not react immediately, why the 5 seconds had not resulted in chaos, why nothing had happened yet. Then Ethan moved. It was not a rush, not a panic. It was precision, calculation, and absolute control. His body closed the distance in a blink, his hands targeting the weapon of the alien commander, disarming him silently, efficiently. Zelvar's guards reacted too slowly, unable to stop what had been planned perfectly. The ceremonial blade in the commander's hand was redirected, its force used against its owner. The crowd gasped. Cameras continued to stream, showing millions of eyes a scene they had never imagined. The human, so small, so underestimated, was acting with speed and skill no alien thought possible. The plaza erupted in stunned whispers and shouts. Alien commanders froze, merchants dropped their wares, and drones hovered uncertainly, unsure how to react to what they were seeing. Ethan's movements were fluid, precise, and final. The ceremonial blade separated from Zelvar's hand, and the human did not stop. He struck once more, faster than anyone could follow, ending the confrontation in an instant. Zelvar's body fell, his head separated cleanly from his shoulders. It rolled across the polished floor, shocking the audience into silence. The hidden operatives moved in, securing exits, keeping bystanders safe and preventing interference. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single unnecessary action occurred. Everything was controlled, everything was precise. Ethan's calm demeanor had not broken, even in the heat of the moment. The galaxy, unaware of the preparation, was watching the power of a human in action for the first time. Aliens screamed in disbelief, pointing fingers, calling for reinforcements. Some tried to attack, but the human operatives had already positioned themselves. The plaza became a controlled zone, calm and disciplined despite the chaos. Ethan stood at the center, his expression unchanged. He had not shouted, he had not celebrated, he had simply acted with deadly precision. The crowd slowly realized something fundamental. Humans did not boast, humans did not threaten, and humans did not strike first. But when pushed, when insulted, when attacked, they ended the fight before it could begin. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The so-called fragile Deathworlder had demonstrated skill, discipline, and control unmatched by any other species present. The moment would be remembered for centuries. The cameras continued to broadcast, transmitting the image of the fallen commander and the calm human standing over him. Millions of eyes across countless star systems witnessed the event live. The galaxy's perception of humanity was changing, and it had changed forever. Ethan's focus did not waver. He secured the area, ensured no one could challenge him or his team, and remained calm as the shock of the moment settled over the plaza. Aliens whispered in fear and awe. Humans nearby looked to him, some stunned, some inspired. He had shown them a lesson in patience, precision, and controlled strength. In those 5 seconds and the actions that followed, humanity had proven something simple yet undeniable. They were not weak. They were not fragile. They were not toys to be slapped, mocked, or underestimated. And the galaxy had finally learned that lesson in the most unforgettable way. The plaza was silent, except for the faint hum of drones and the startled murmurs of aliens. Ethan Cole stood still, his breathing calm, his eyes fixed on the fallen commander. Zelvar's head lay on the polished floor, his expression frozen in shock. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause, as if the galaxy needed a second to comprehend what had just happened. The aliens around the plaza stared, their claws and hands frozen mid-motion. No one had expected a human to act with such speed and precision. None had imagined that a single Deathworlder could disarm and defeat a commander without even raising his voice. Whispers ran through the crowd, growing louder as realization sank in. "Is this possible?" some asked. "A human, a Deathworlder?" Others shook their heads in disbelief. Ethan did not move immediately. He waited, calculating every possibility. His hidden team of human operatives had already secured strategic points in the station, ensuring that no one could interfere or attack. They blended seamlessly with the crowd, invisible yet ready. Ethan's calm control radiated across the plaza, and slowly, the aliens began to understand the scale of what they had witnessed. Zelvar's guards hesitated, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Their commander had fallen in seconds, not due to luck or numbers, but because of the human's precision. One of the guards tried to raise a weapon, but a human operative silently moved behind him, holding him in place without a struggle. Another guard reached for a communicator, but another operative intercepted it. The plaza remained under complete control, every human in position, disciplined and coordinated. Ethan finally stepped forward, his boots making a soft sound on the floor. His movements were deliberate, slow enough for aliens to see, yet fast enough to remain ready for any threat. He walked around Zelvar's body, observing the fallen commander as if evaluating a lesson in arrogance and overconfidence. The crowd held its breath. This human did not shout, did not celebrate, did not even smile. His presence alone conveyed authority, strength, and complete control. Aliens whispered among themselves, trying to understand the human's abilities. "I thought humans were weak," one said. "I thought they were fragile. I was wrong," another replied. Fear and awe mixed together, spreading rapidly across the plaza. Even some of Zelvar's aides, previously smug and confident, began to step back, their eyes wide. Ethan's hand brushed lightly over the collar device again, sending a subtle signal to the operatives. They adjusted positions, ready to intercept anyone who tried to interfere. The human was calm, precise, and utterly in control. The aliens realized that no amount of strength or authority could challenge this level of preparation and discipline. One of the alien leaders finally stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly. "Human, what have you done?" he asked. "You have defeated a commander in seconds. Is this your species' power?" Ethan spoke softly, his voice calm and measured. "We do not boast, we do not threaten, we respond when attacked." The statement was simple, but its meaning was profound. The aliens around the plaza understood it immediately. Humans were not like other species. They did not need to display strength to be feared. They acted only when necessary, and when they did, their actions were absolute. The drones above continued to record, capturing every detail. The transmission spread to countless systems, millions of eyes watching in shock. Across the galaxy, species who had mocked humans, ignored them, or dismissed them as fragile were witnessing something unprecedented. A single human had confronted a high-ranking commander, neutralized him, and maintained perfect control throughout. Ethan turned slightly, scanning the plaza. The hidden operatives ensured that no one could challenge him or interfere. The station remained under complete control, not through violence or chaos, but through precision and discipline. Every movement was calculated, every action purposeful. The humans had rewritten the rules without firing a single shot. Some aliens tried to flee, realizing that the plaza was no longer safe for anyone who underestimated humans. Others froze, unsure whether to run, attack, or surrender. Ethan's calm presence held them in place, a silent demonstration of authority. No one dared challenge him, for they knew instinctively that doing so would be fatal. Across the crowd, human diplomats stepped forward, observing with pride and relief. They had trained for this scenario, and Ethan's actions had proved the effectiveness of their discipline and preparation. The galaxy would now understand that humans were not fragile, not weak, and not to be underestimated. The first wave of reaction came from alien media drones, which began broadcasting commentary. "The Deathworlder has done what no one thought possible," one voice reported. "The commander has fallen before a single human, and the station remains under control." Analysts across the galaxy paused, replaying the footage, frame by frame. Speed, precision, and calm control had never been seen in combination like this before. Ethan observed the reaction silently. He did not need to shout or boast. The galaxy was witnessing the story in real time. Every viewer understood the message. Humans were disciplined, precise, and deadly when necessary. They did not provoke, but they did not tolerate disrespect. One of Zelvar's aides tried to speak, his voice trembling. You cannot do this, humans are weak." Ethan's eyes flicked toward him, calm and steady. "We are not weak," he said simply. "We respond when provoked. You have seen the result." The aide froze, realizing that arguing further would be useless. Every human operative present was ready, disciplined, and capable of acting instantly. Any attempt to continue aggression would be met with immediate, overwhelming precision. The aliens understood that the human strength was not in numbers or weapons, but in control, planning, and execution. The plaza slowly regained a sense of order, but it was a different order than before. The aliens no longer assumed dominance. Humans now commanded attention, respect, and caution. The transmission of the event spread across the galaxy at faster-than-light speed, reaching star systems that had never heard of Ethan Cole or his team. The reaction was immediate and profound. Some systems reacted with fear, their leaders calling emergency meetings to discuss the human threat. Others reacted with curiosity, eager to understand how such a small species could achieve such precision and control. Across the galaxy, human reputation began to grow rapidly, not through conquest, but through a single demonstration of discipline and skill. Inside the plaza, the remaining aliens watched in stunned silence. Even those who had mocked humans moments before now hesitated to speak. The fallen commander had been a symbol of power, and now he lay defeated. The human standing calmly in the center had rewritten expectations, and no one could ignore it. Ethan finally stepped back, giving space to the stunned crowd. His movements were deliberate, calm, and controlled. The hidden operatives melted back into the crowd, unseen, leaving no trace of their presence. The plaza was quiet, not from fear alone, but from realization. Humans were not to be underestimated. A young alien merchant approached cautiously, her voice trembling. You are a human and you defeated him," Ethan nodded slowly. "I am, we do not boast, we respond when necessary." Her eyes widened. She had never imagined that a human could do such a thing. She stepped back, bowing slightly in respect. Whispers spread quickly, and the mood of the plaza shifted. Aliens no longer mocked or laughed. They were cautious, respectful, and aware that humans were different from any species they had encountered. The station security, previously confident that humans were harmless, now took a step back. Their assumption had been shattered. Humans were not weak. Humans were not fragile. Humans were disciplined, precise, and capable of ending conflicts faster than anyone could predict. Across the galaxy, military analysts began to study the footage. Commanders who had dismissed humans as unworthy of attention were forced to reconsider. Speed, precision, control, and discipline had combined in a single human to defeat a commander instantly. The message was clear. The galaxy could no longer underestimate humanity. Ethan stood silently, observing, calculating. He had not moved impulsively, had not shouted, had not celebrated. His calm control spoke louder than any words could. The plaza was now under a new order, one defined by respect and caution. Aliens understood that humans were not to be provoked, mocked, or attacked. The story of the plaza spread quickly, becoming a lesson across multiple star systems. Humans were recognized as disciplined, precise, and capable of extraordinary feats. Their reputation shifted in a single moment, from underestimated Deathworlders to species worthy of respect and caution. Ethan's actions had not been about pride or ego or conquest. They had been about control, discipline, and proving that humans could respond effectively to aggression. The galaxy learned something profound in those moments. Humans did not boast, they did not threaten, and they did not strike first. But when struck, they ended the fight decisively and without hesitation. The plaza slowly emptied as aliens left, carrying with them the story of what they had seen. Some would recount it in fear, others in awe, but all would remember. The transmission continued to spread, reaching systems far and wide. Humanity had shown its strength, not through numbers or weaponry, but through skill, patience, and absolute control. Ethan remained at the center for a few more moments, ensuring everything was secure. He did not look at the fallen commander again, not out of disrespect, but because it was not necessary. The lesson had been delivered and it would be remembered. The galaxy had watched, learned, and could not unsee what had happened. And in that moment, Ethan Cole understood that the 5 seconds after a slap could change the fate of a species in the galaxy. The human race, once underestimated, had proven that it could act with precision, control, and decisive skill. The galaxy would never again take Deathworlder's lightly. News of what happened on the station spread faster than anyone could imagine. The moment Ethan Cole had struck down Zelvar was recorded by countless drones and cameras, and within hours, millions of eyes across the galaxy had witnessed it. Alien leaders scrambled to understand what had happened. Analysts replayed the footage, frame by frame, trying to figure out how a single human could defeat a high-ranking commander in seconds. The result was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from dozens of species gathered. They had watched the live transmission, their expressions a mix of fear, confusion, and awe. The council chamber was usually a place of protocol, debate, and controlled argument. Now, it buzzed with tension. Leaders whispered to each other, eyes flicking to the large holographic display that showed the fallen commander and the calm human standing over him. "This cannot be real," one alien delegate muttered, his tentacles shaking slightly. A single human against Zelvar and he fell in seconds. Another delegate, older and more cautious, shook his head. "I have never seen anything like this. The Deathworlders, we have misjudged them completely." In the corner, a human diplomat named Laura Benson observed silently. She had been preparing for this scenario, though she had hoped it would never escalate to violence. Her voice, calm and steady, carried across the chamber. "Humans do not seek war. We do not boast. We act only when provoked. What you have witnessed is not aggression. It is discipline, control, and the natural response to an attack." The chamber fell silent. Even the most aggressive alien species paused, listening. Laura continued, "We will not tolerate disrespect, and we will respond to threats against our people. But we do not strike first. This is the law of our species, and it is simple. We defend ourselves, and we defend our honor." The council representatives shifted in their seats. The implications were profound. Zelvar had been one of the most feared commanders in multiple systems, renowned for his strategy, his cruelty, and his dominance. For a single human to defeat him instantly was unimaginable. It challenged everything they had believed about humanity. Across the galaxy, news outlets replayed the footage continuously. Analysts debated, militaries reassessed strategies, and civilians whispered in awe. On many worlds, humans had previously been treated as curiosities, fragile and weak. Now, the image of Ethan Cole standing calmly while a commander fell before him had replaced every old assumption. The galaxy was learning that humans were precise, disciplined, and deadly when necessary. Military leaders convened emergency meetings. Some wanted to send fleets to confront humans, fearing that such skill could be dangerous if misused. Others argued for caution, recognizing that provoking humanity could lead to devastating results. The discussions were heated, but one point became undeniable: the galaxy could no longer ignore humans. They were a force that had to be respected, even if their intentions were peaceful. On the station, life had not returned to normal. The plaza remained cordoned off by human operatives, ensuring no retaliation or chaos occurred. Alien diplomats approached cautiously, their gestures cautious and respectful. They asked questions, seeking to understand what they had witnessed. Ethan remained calm, answering only when necessary. He had not sought attention or glory. He had acted with precision, discipline, and control, and now he was ensuring the situation remained contained. The hidden operatives worked quietly, blending back into the crowd. Their presence was unseen, but they maintained security, ensuring no one could challenge the humans again. Ethan's calm authority radiated outward, keeping the plaza under control without aggression. Aliens quickly realized that strength was not in weapons or numbers alone, but in discipline, preparation, and precision. The news reached distant star systems where humans had only recently established contact. On many worlds, humans were once seen as weak, fragile, and unimportant. Now the reports spread like wildfire. A human defeated a high-ranking commander in seconds, one transmission reported. "The species is disciplined, precise, and deadly. Do not provoke them." Even the most aggressive alien leaders reconsidered their assumptions. Fleets that had been planned against humans were delayed, strategies revised, and training manuals rewritten. Commanders realized that the human species had abilities that could not be ignored, measured, or easily countered. The 5 seconds after a slap had changed the balance of galactic perception forever. On Earth, human leaders watched the footage with a mixture of pride and caution. They understood the impact. Ethan's actions had not been reckless. He had acted with complete control, demonstrating the strength of human discipline and training. But they also knew the galaxy might respond with fear or hostility. Careful diplomacy would be required to ensure peace, while still respecting the message humanity had sent. Humans were not fragile, and they would defend themselves decisively. Laura Benson prepared a statement for the Galactic Council. It was clear that diplomacy would be as important as military skill. The message needed to be firm, yet reassuring. "Humans seek peace, not conflict," she began. "We respect other species and their ways. We ask only for the same respect in return. What you have seen is a response to aggression. We act decisively, but only when necessary. Understand this. Humans are disciplined and we do not strike first. But when struck, the consequences are immediate and final." Her words were broadcast across the galaxy, reaching thousands of systems simultaneously. Analysts dissected every word. Humans were establishing a reputation not through threats, not through conquest, but through the demonstration of control, precision, and discipline. The galaxy had learned to respect them, even without direct confrontation. On the station, aliens began to approach humans cautiously. Some apologized for past disrespect. Others offered alliances, hoping to avoid future conflict. Even those who had once mocked humans now hesitated, careful not to provoke further incidents. The balance of power had shifted subtly but decisively. Humans were no longer underestimated. Meanwhile, human operatives ensured that no further incidents occurred. Ethan remained at the center of the plaza, his presence calm and authoritative. He understood the importance of perception. The galaxy needed to see humans as disciplined and precise, not reckless or violent. His actions had proven capability without unnecessary aggression, and now his task was to maintain control and avoid escalation. Aliens whispered in the background, sharing stories of the 5-second moment that had changed everything. Commanders reevaluated their strategies, diplomats reconsidered treaties, and civilians marveled at the skill displayed by a single human. The message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. Discipline, precision, and control were as powerful as any weapon. On some worlds, military analysts began simulations, trying to understand how a single human could achieve such speed and efficiency. Fleets recalculated strategies, commanders trained their troops differently, and alien societies began to reconsider how they treated humans. The galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented, and the lessons would last for generations. Ethan continued to observe silently. He had not sought recognition or glory. His actions were necessary, precise, and controlled. The galaxy had learned its lesson, but he knew the consequences would ripple far beyond this station. Humans were no longer underestimated, and their reputation had changed forever. Laura Benson's address continued to resonate. Her words reminded every species that humans were disciplined, not reckless. That balance of caution and respect became the new standard in diplomatic relations. Humans had shown they could act decisively without chaos. The galaxy had learned that strength lay not just in force, but in control and timing. In the days following, systems that had previously ignored humans now sought alliances. Merchants offered trade opportunities, diplomats sent messages of respect, and military leaders quietly revised their plans. Even distant star systems, unaware of humans until now, studied the footage and prepared for potential contact. The galaxy had learned the value of recognizing human skill, patience, and precision. On the station, life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. The plaza was no longer tense, but the atmosphere had changed. Humans were no longer seen as weak or fragile. Their presence commanded attention and respect. Ethan watched as aliens cautiously resumed their routines, careful not to provoke further incidents. He remained calm, knowing the galaxy had seen the strength of humanity in the most memorable way possible. The event on the station would be remembered in stories, analyzed in training, and broadcast across generations. Humans had proven that 5 seconds after a slap could change perception, reputation, and diplomacy across the galaxy. Ethan Cole had not only defended his people, but had reshaped the understanding of what humans were capable of. And as the galaxy adjusted to this new reality, one truth became clear. Humans were disciplined, precise, and deadly when necessary. The reputation of fragility was gone, replaced with respect, caution, and admiration. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The galaxy had not forgotten the Plaza incident. News of Ethan Cole's precision, calm, and deadly efficiency had spread to countless star systems. Humans were no longer a curiosity, no longer a fragile species to be ignored. Every planet that received the transmission began to adjust its perception of humanity. For the first time, humans were recognized as disciplined, precise, and capable of decisive action. On the neutral trade station, life continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Aliens who had once mocked or dismissed humans now approached cautiously. Even minor gestures were careful, respectful. Merchants who had called humans weak now offered trade and assistance, and diplomats who had planned subtle slights now sought alliance. The plaza had become a symbol of human strength, restraint, and deadly capability. Ethan remained on the station, quietly observing. He did not seek attention or praise. The moment he had acted was enough. The galaxy had witnessed the strength, discipline, and precision of a single human, and that message was enough to shift perception permanently. Hidden operatives blended back into the station, ensuring the safety of the plaza and the humans present. Their presence was unseen, their work unnoticed, but it kept the situation under control. Laura Benson, the human diplomat, convened meetings with alien representatives. She spoke with calm authority, explaining human behavior and philosophy. Humans do not seek conflict, she said, but we will respond decisively if provoked. Our strength is in our control, our preparation, and our discipline. Understand this, and interactions with humans will remain peaceful and respectful. The aliens listened, some nodding, some hesitant, all aware that what they had witnessed was not a fluke or accident. Humans had demonstrated skill, coordination, and discipline beyond expectation. Military leaders studied the footage repeatedly, analyzing Ethan's movements, his timing, and the efficiency of the hidden operatives. They recognized that humans combined intelligence, physical skill, and calm under pressure in a way unmatched by other species. On distant worlds, news of Ethan Cole's actions became a topic of discussion. Some governments revised their strategies toward humans, recognizing the risk of underestimating them. Fleets that had once planned maneuvers against humanity were delayed, reevaluated, and often canceled. Humans were no longer a minor species. They were a force to be respected. On the station, Ethan walked quietly through the corridors. Aliens gave him space, some bowing slightly, others averting their gaze. He acknowledged none of it. He was not proud or boastful. He was simply aware of the consequences of what had happened. A single human had changed the perception of an entire species across the galaxy. The responsibility weighed on him, but he carried it calmly. Hidden operatives ensured that no threat went unnoticed. Even minor infractions were intercepted quietly, with precision. The humans maintained control without showing aggression. The aliens observed, understanding that strength could be displayed without violence. The discipline and coordination of the humans became a silent lesson in respect. Meanwhile, the galaxy's reaction continued. Historians, military strategists, and diplomats recorded the event. Lessons were taught in academies, showing the importance of discipline, patience, and precision. A single human had demonstrated that strength did not require boasting or unnecessary action. Humans had set a standard that would influence galactic interactions for decades. On Earth, humans observed the growing reputation with cautious pride. Ethan Cole's actions had achieved more than defense or personal skill. They had shown the galaxy the true potential of humanity, disciplined, intelligent, and capable of decisive action without chaos. Governments prepared for the long-term implications, understanding that respect alone could prevent unnecessary conflict. Laura Benson continued her work at the Galactic Council. She reinforced the principles demonstrated by Ethan. Humans respond when provoked, she reminded the Council repeatedly. Our actions are precise, calculated, and controlled. We do not strike first. But when necessary, we end conflict before it escalates. Learn this and peace will remain. Ignore it and consequences are immediate. The Council listened, cautious but respectful. The 5-second moment on the station had rewritten expectations, and now diplomacy reflected that reality. Humans were no longer underestimated, and their approach to control and discipline became a model for negotiation and interaction. On other stations and planets, training manuals began to change. Military academies noted the importance of preparation, coordination, and calm under pressure. Alien soldiers were taught to expect that humans would not react recklessly, but would act with precision and efficiency. Commanders who once dismissed humans revised their strategies, ensuring that they accounted for the deadly discipline of Deathworlders. The galaxy slowly adjusted to the new reality. Humans were no longer minor players. They were a species whose actions demanded consideration and respect. Fleets avoided rash maneuvers, diplomats approached negotiations carefully, and civilians treated humans with a mixture of caution and awe. Ethan Cole's calm action had created a permanent shift in perception. On the neutral trade station, humans quietly maintained their presence. Ethan moved among them, ensuring order, observing, and remaining ready if needed. He did not boast or show pride. The moment he had acted was enough. The galaxy had understood the lesson. Humans were disciplined, precise, and deadly when necessary. Even Zelvar's former allies learned to respect humanity. They approached cautiously, offering apologies or attempting to build alliances. They realized that underestimating humans could lead to immediate and final consequences. The galaxy had learned that lesson in the most unforgettable way. Across star systems, stories of Ethan Cole's actions spread. Children learned of the 5-second moment. Military cadets studied it in training. Historians recorded it as a turning point. Humans had demonstrated skill, patience, and control in a single act, and the galaxy recognized that humans were a species to be respected. Ethan's presence remained calm and steady. He did not need to act again to prove a point. The galaxy had seen humans in action, and their reputation had been forever changed. Humans were no longer underestimated. Their discipline, intelligence, and efficiency had been made clear. As weeks turned to months, humans continued to build alliances, trade, and diplomacy across the galaxy. They were treated with respect, not fear, but with awareness of their capabilities. Humans had proven that they did not need to dominate to be strong, that calm precision could command attention and change perceptions. Ethan Cole, quietly observing, knew that the galaxy had learned an essential truth. Humans did not boast, they did not strike first, and they did not threaten without reason. But when attacked, they ended conflict decisively, with precision and discipline. A single human had rewritten the perception of an entire species across countless star systems, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Hidden operatives continued their quiet work, maintaining security without drawing attention. Ethan moved among the station's corridors, a silent figure ensuring the stability he had helped create. The lessons of the plaza had become permanent. The galaxy had seen the discipline and skill of humanity, and no one would forget it. On distant worlds, fleets and armies reconsidered their strategies. They no longer assumed humans were fragile or weak. Diplomacy became cautious, respectful, and aware of the human capacity for precision. Merchants, civilians, and diplomats treated humans differently, consciously or unconsciously acknowledging the lessons of the plaza. Human reputation had shifted permanently. They were no longer underestimated. They were respected, feared in moderation, and acknowledged for their discipline, skill, and control. The 5 seconds after a slap had rewritten perception across the galaxy. Ethan Cole continued to move silently among the humans and aliens, observing, calculating, and maintaining the calm order he had established. He understood the significance of his actions, but he bore it with quiet humility. Humans had proven their worth without arrogance, and the galaxy had learned to respect them. As the station hummed with life, and the galaxy adjusted to its new understanding, one truth was undeniable. Humans were disciplined, precise, and deadly when necessary. They did not boast, they did not provoke, and they did not strike first. But if struck, they ended conflict before it could begin. And in that lesson, the galaxy had found a new reality. Humans would no longer be underestimated. Humanity's reputation had been rewritten, forever shaped by the calm, precise, and deadly actions of a single human named Ethan Cole. The galaxy had changed. Respect replaced mockery. Caution replaced arrogance. And the humans, once underestimated, had become a species whose discipline, precision, and control would be remembered for generations. The 5 seconds after a slap had not only defended a human, but had secured the place of humanity in the galaxy.